The Magic City. I am not referring to a city of mystical powers per se, but more of an impressive rise of an American city. Miami was given this nickname due to its quick rise from nothing to one of America's most influential cities. Miami is filled with massive high rises that seem to rise out of the Biscayne Bay all the way up to the clouds. I personally have spent 4 summers interning down there, and I can agree with the nickname. Working for a construction management firm allowed me to get up close and personal to all these high rises. It's almost magical how every summer I would return and there would be 5 to 10 new high rises going up. I would like to spend some time today going over the history and rapid growth of Miami, Florida. However, I would like to start off by sharing some facts. Miami is located in the state of Florida. Hopefully everyone knows that. That is about 1,200 miles away from right here in Toledo, Ohio. The city has a land area of around 35 square miles, and Toledo is around 85, so that makes Miami significantly smaller than Toledo. The city of Miami has a city population of 417,000 and about 1.7 million in the Dade County. Miami is nicknamed Magic City, like I said, due to the rapid growth in population from the start to today. Julia Tuttle moved to the area in 1891 and purchased land to build her home. She prophesied that a great city would someday arise in the area, one that would become a center of trade with South America and a gateway to the Americas. Across the river from Tuttle lived William and Mary Brickell and their very large family. The Brickells arrived a little bit before Tuttle in 1870 and quickly established themselves as successful Indian traders as well as very successful real estate investors. Next, there's Henry M. Flagler. He was a multi-millionaire due to his partnership with the Rockefellers in the oil industry. He was extending his railroad south along Florida's east coast. He was also developing cities and resorts along the way. In 1894, his railway entered West Palm Beach, which is about 90 miles north of Miami. During the following year, 1895, there were 2 devastating freezes that wreaked havoc on Florida's farm crops, but they failed to reach Miami. And due to this, Tuttle convinced Flagler to meet, and eventually to agree to extend his railway to Miami in exchange for hundreds of acres of prime real estate from Tuttle and the Brickells. Additionally, these 3 great leaders agreed to lay the foundations for a city on both sides of the Miami River. They chose to build a magnificent hotel near the base of the river in Biscayne Bay. Flagler, however, had been quietly planning his extension long before his meeting with Tuttle. He wanted to bring his railroad all the way to Key West and link it with other parts of the vast system on the west coast of the state. He also wanted to bring in a steamboat line to connect to the Bahama resorts. The first train entered Miami on April 13, 1896. By then, a city was arising on both sides of the Miami River. By 1910, Miami's population had soared to nearly 5,500, while the number of tourists and new business establishments rose sharply. 12th Street, which is today's Flagler, running through the heart of downtown, had become Miami's most important address for the city's leading business establishments. 12th Street continued to rise with the opening of the city's first skyscraper in 1912. Miami was already booming when the Roaring Twenties began. The city's population had climbed to nearly 30,000, a 440% increase to 1910. According to the Miami Census Department, that represented the largest per capita increase of any municipality in the nation. Its expanding borders now extended several miles in each direction. Increasing number of tourists remained in the area after the winter season had even ended, becoming permanent residents. People from all parts of the nation came to the city in search of quick wealth in the booming real estate market, and Miami was at its center. In the late summer of 1925, nearly 1,000 subdivisions were under construction in Miami. Speculators were selling lots several miles from the city center for fantastic profits. Beautiful developments began bearing Spanish and Mediterranean architecture. Miami expanded from 13 to 43 square miles. and by then, mid-20s, the population stood at around 100,000. However, the boom was accompanied by a breakdown in law and order, just like New York and Chicago. Bootleggers sold liquor obtained from the nearby Bahamian Islands. The rate of violent deaths for Miami and the Dade County skyrocketed. The boom began to end around 1926. Investors backed off from further investments due to fear of inflation. This brought construction to a standstill. The spring and summer of 1926 witnessed a mass exodus of residents and investors. In September of that year, a hurricane with winds of 125 miles per hour hit Miami. More than 100 Miami citizens lost their lives in the storm. Thousands of homes were destroyed, unfinished subdivisions were leveled. The entire region was plunged into a severe economic depression 3 years before the rest of the nation. The Great Depression started September 1929. The stock market crashed, causing billions of lost dollars, which led to citizens rushing to the banks to withdraw all of their savings. This would lead to about 50% of banks failing. The United States saw a 24% unemployment rate. However, Miami handled the Great Depression of the 1930s better than most other cities in the nation. This was because of commercial aviation. Pan American Airways and Eastern Airlines established headquarters in the Magic City, which also allowed tourism to rise. Special events such as the Orange Bowl Festival helped with tourism as well. Thankfully, FDR's New Deal program put more than 16,000 Miamis to work to build fire stations, schools, and post offices. One of the city's most defining moments came in 1959 with Fidel Castro's takeover of Cuba. This led to a vast exodus of Cubans to Miami. Many of the first wave of refugees were highly educated people who left behind successful careers and businesses. Their presence in older Miami neighborhoods helped revitalize areas that had been suffering. 1965 marked the beginning of the U.S.-sponsored Freedom Flights, a massive airlift of Cubans to Miami. By the time of the termination of the Freedom Flights, in 1973, more than 3,000 flights had occurred, which delivered 150,000 Cubans to America. This transformed Miami into a Latin American capital. Today, Miami contains approximately 417,000 residents. All of those residents require housing. The city began and still has a huge boom in residential high-rise towers. Many I have assisted with in the management firm. Currently in the heart of downtown, there's a $1 billion project to build 6 commercial residential towers. This project is a challenge due to the underground parking, which is necessary. However, sea level is at 1 foot, so that proposes a challenge. All 6 towers will be integrated into one community called City Center. Miami is one of the most vibrant cities in the world. Hundreds of different cultures and backgrounds make up the population. It's amazing to compare how this small area of land was transformed by 3 people to become a leading international city in trade and commerce. Hopefully sometime in your life you can visit this booming city.